Pastor Josh here. We're reading Exodus chapter 16, verses 1 through 16. And God will provide for you, and He provides for me, even when we grumble, even when we complain against Him. He is still faithful to take care of our needs, even in the midst of our grumbling. Of course, we would rather not be grumbling about the things that the Lord has given us or our situation in life. We would rather have a godly attitude toward it, even if it is a terrible circumstance, even though it may be a terrible thing that we have to bear. We want to look at that situation in faith and go through it, but even when we might be grumbling and complaining, the Lord actually still provides for us. So let's see what happens to the Israelites in the Exodus. They have gone out from Egypt. They have come to this water of Mara, this water of bitterness, and they drank from that water, and they complained against the Lord there. And now they are continuing on their journey, and now they have the problem of not having bread. So they set out from Elim, and Elim was a wonderful place with 70 palm trees and 12 springs, just full of wonderful, luscious water. Wonderful place, I'm sure, fruits and other things as well. But they set out from there, and all the congregation of the people of Israel came to the wilderness of Sin, which is between Elim and Sinai. Remember, they are on their way to the mountain of the Lord. They're on their way to Mount Sinai, and we're told that on the 15th day of the second month, after they had departed from the land of Egypt, and the whole congregation of the people of Israel did what? They grumbled against Moses. Again, this is not something we want to be doing. This is an attitude we should avoid, grumbling against the Lord, because ultimately they're grumbling against Moses and Aaron. But at the end of the day, they are grumbling about the Lord, as we will see here in a moment. And the people of Israel said to them, "Would that we had died by the hand of the Lord in the land of Egypt, when we sat by the meat pots and ate bread to the full. For you have brought us out into this wilderness to kill this whole assembly with hunger." Do you see their perspective problem? They were thinking about their time in Egypt. They seem to have forgotten that they were slaves. They seem to have forgotten that they were beaten. They seem to have forgotten the horrendous treatment that they received from Pharaoh and the Egyptians. All they seem to remember at this point is that they sat by meat pots, meat to eat, and that they had bread to the full. They forgot about the lashes and the whips, but all they remember is their food that they had. And they said, "Why did you bring us out here to kill us? Because we used to have tons of meat and tons of bread while we were in Egypt." So then, verse 4, the Lord said to Moses, "Behold, I am about to rain bread." Have you ever thought about that? God has the capacity to rain bread. Now, you know He does that in this great Exodus story. He causes manna, this great heavenly bread, to come down from heaven and to gather like dew on the grass. But God is able to rain bread. And if He's able to do that, surely He is able to help you in whatever situation that you are in. But you can pray and ask for strength to keep going. Ask for wisdom to know what to do or how to organize your day. Be able to ask for resources for the Lord to provide them at the right time and in the right way. God is able to rain bread. He's also able to take care of you in your situation. So God says, "Behold, I'm about to rain bread from heaven for you, and the people shall go out and gather a portion every day, that I may test them, whether they will walk in my law or not." On the sixth day, that being the Sabbath day, the day that they're supposed to, the day before the Sabbath day, on which they are supposed to rest, when they prepare what they bring in, it will be twice as much as they gather daily. So they would not have to go out and gather on the Sabbath, on the seventh day. So Moses and Aaron said to all the people of Israel, "At evening you shall know that it was the Lord who brought you out of the land of Egypt. And in the morning you shall see the glory of the Lord. A great promise for us to claim even now. The Israelites were promised that they would see the glory of the Lord. You too and I too can see the glory of the Lord. We can see him in our personal worship time. We can see him with the eyes of our hearts when we worship together publicly with the church. And we will indeed one day see him face to face when we are in heaven and we pass away, or Christ comes and returns again. We will see the glory of the Lord. The Israelites were about to see it. Remember, the Lord was leading them in a pillar of fire and a cloud by day. So there is this Shekinah glory, as they would call it, leading the Israelites. So there is this manifest presence of the Lord that they can see. And God is saying, you're going to see the glory of the Lord because he has heard your grumbling against the Lord. Now remember, they are actually grumbling against Moses and Aaron, but from the perspective of God, they're actually complaining against the Lord. For what are we that you grumble against us? And Moses said, when the Lord gives you in the evening meat to eat, and in the morning bread to the full, because the Lord has heard your grumbling, that you grumble against him. What are we? Again, your grumbling is not against us, but against the Lord. Then Moses said to Aaron, say to the whole congregation of the people of Israel, come near before the Lord, for he has heard your grumbling. And as soon as Aaron spoke to the whole congregation of the people of Israel, what happened? They looked toward the wilderness, and behold, the glory of the Lord appeared in the cloud. They're seeing this Shekinah glory. And the Lord said to Moses, I have heard the grumbling of the people of Israel. Whenever you complain, the Lord hears that he's quite aware of the things that are ticking you off and that are really bothering you. And God said, say to them at twilight, you shall eat meat, and in the morning you shall be filled with bread. Then you shall know that I am the Lord your God. God is providing for them even though they're grumbling. And in the evening, what happened? Quail came up and covered their camp. That's how they get their meat. And in the morning, dew lay around the camp. And when the dew had gone up, there was on the face of the wilderness a fine flake-like thing, fine as frost on the ground. This kind of flour type stuff that is just on the grass and kind of like dew, so probably like a wet stickiness, but it's a flake-like thing, frost. So when the people of Israel saw it, they said to one another, what is it? Which really sounds like the word manna, for they did not know what it was. And Moses said to them, it is the bread that the Lord has given you to eat. He's providing for you even though you're grumbling. This is what the Lord has commanded. Gather of it, each one of you as much as he can eat. You shall each take a homer, which is a measurement, according to the number of persons that each of you has in his tent. Remember, this is also to be a test, because the Lord said, gather what you need each day. Don't gather too much, but gather exactly what you need for the day. And then when you come to the sixth day, you need to gather double, because you're not supposed to be working on the seventh. And he's saying, I'm going to test to see if you're going to obey my commands and my rules. Because if you remember in the previous video, in our previous reading yesterday, that there was this great promise that if they would obey God's rules, that he would indeed bless them in a mighty and powerful way. And what I pointed out to you is that this is the law. And in fact, none of us can completely live by the law. Well, this is why the Apostle Paul says that we have died to the law as Christians and that we live by grace, because we recognize we cannot fulfill the law, but that rather Jesus perfectly fulfilled the law and then gives to us all of the righteousness and the blessings that come from being obedient to the Lord. We receive all of that. And then because we have received it, then that is what fuels our obedience. We do not obey so that we can receive blessings. That is called grace. That is what we get to live in. And it is going to become abundantly clear as we watch these Israelites go all the way to Mount Sinai, receive the Ten Commandments, and then walk on to the Promised Land. We are going to see them time after time continually disobey the Lord, disobey God, because humans cannot fully obey the law. So, are you grumbling? And even in the midst of when you grumble, realize that the Lord is going to provide for you. I pray that has been a blessing to y'all, and I will see you in the next video.